We live in a world of cycles. We experience this in life and death, night and day. Everything comes and goes. Even as we move, there is a repetition of steps, a constant back and forth loop. It is built into the rhythm of our being and the steady beating of our hearts. What if this isn't just a coincidence, but hardwired into reality? What if reality is an ongoing oscillation pattern of continuous creation, a never-ending story, going back and forth like the swing of a pendulum, moving forward in time? Welcome, conscious colleagues, to the Philosophy of Power, a movement dedicated to uncovering the secrets of reality and the power of consciousness. We continue our ongoing series on the architecture of reality. And in today's episode, we explore the concept of universal oscillation, of congregate and spread, a behavior of reality that produces all of the patterns of creation. This mechanism manifests as two opposing forces that reinforce each other through a feedback loop, establishing a perpetual pattern-producing cycle. It is the foundation of our pendulum framework: duality in multiplicity, in perpetuity for eternity. Two images of motion. If we recall from the previous episode, the pendulum of power contains two opposing poles, competing for power and possibility. It doesn't stop with just one swing. It sways eternally between the two forces. But remember the core of our framework: chaos, the zone where the predictable loop fractures and probability chooses the ultimate destination, either the two poles or something entirely new. With this framing, we explore the motion before the break, the feedback loop of competing poles reinforcing each other. Reality can be imagined through two distinct images of motion: linear oscillation, a dualistic feedback loop, and eternal recurrence, a continuous spiral oscillation where linear oscillation breaks into an evolving spiral. Let's start with linear oscillation. We saw this already in our video on consciousness. Perceptions are reality. Our interactions with the world aren't reactive. They're an oscillating feedback loop. We perceive information, internalize it, use abstractions to create meaning, then project that meaning, shaping reality to reinforce our mental model of it. That reality returns to our minds, where we break it apart again to form new ideas. The same motion runs through our inventions. The simplest case is simple harmonic motion, demonstrated by a swinging pendulum at the bottom of the swing. Its energy is pure motion. As it rises, that motion converts into stored height at the peak, before swinging back to repeat the cycle. This perpetual exchange between movement and stillness produces a steady, predictable rhythm. The piston engine runs on this same principle, scaled up. Combustion explodes outward in the power stroke, and the crankshaft drives it right back inward in the compression stroke. Explosion and compression perpetually bouncing between two poles to generate motion. Electrical circuits follow the same pattern. A capacitor holds its energy as stored charge, then releases it into the inductor's magnetic field, and the collapsing field pushes that charge right back over and over. This bounce between two states of energy is what produces alternating current. Even computers run on it, through logic gates. A NOT gate is built entirely on opposition. If the input is on, the output must be off, flipping back and forth without end. Layer enough of these gates together and you get the rhythmic cycling that powers every program, including artificial intelligence. Now we move to the second image, eternal recurrence, where two forces merge into one continuous, self-sustaining spiral instead of bouncing in a line. A spin isn't distinct from an oscillation. It's simply the most harmonized form of the cycle, where two extremes have merged and the loop itself begins to climb, evolving into a spiral. The universe is defined by the patterns this tireless spiral produces. Light is this spiral in action, a wave caught in a perpetual exchange between an electric and magnetic field. Each field collapses it into the other and recreates it in return, so the two endlessly regenerate each other in an ever-advancing spiral. Because this exchange is self-sustaining, light can travel the vacuum of space forever. Planetary orbits follow this same spiral. A planet constantly falls toward its star while moving fast enough sideways to keep missing it, so the pull inward and the drift outward continuously correct each other. Neither force ever wins, so the result is a stable, endless ellipse spiraling forward through space and time rather than simply repeating in place. Even at the quantum level, an electron carries this same self-sustaining rotation, spinning endlessly without ever winding down. That spin generates its own tiny magnetic field, which is what allows electrons to bond with other atoms, the basis of all chemistry, and thus the basis of all organization and structure of matter. Across every scale of reality, we now know the mechanism behind all the patterns of existence. The two forces, spread and congregate. From the oscillation of opposing relational forces, we can see how the pendulum manifests itself in reality. But there is a greater mechanism behind it all, and it's not a force. It's the behavior of reality itself. Imagine existence as a living entity, where all patterns of the universe come from two oscillating behaviors, breathing in and breathing out, spread and congregate. For the sake of brevity and simplicity, we will refer to this as a force. But remember, they are features, not specific substances like fields or particles. Just as gravity is a curvature of space-time, not a force of the planet itself. Spread is existence's tendency for movement, for chaos, a breathing out where everything in existence scatters. It is similar to entropy, but spread operates toward movement, not necessarily toward decay. Entropy and decay are thus tools of spread, not its essence. Congregate is its counterpart, the binding behavior of existence. It creates stable localization, forming unified structure. Similarly, it resembles gravity, a behavior where reality consolidates into a local structure. But gravity is its tool, not the behavior itself. It also operates through other forces like the strong nuclear force in quantum mechanics that hold protons and neutrons together. Without it, atoms would not form. All matter would collapse into absolute chaos. Applying the pendulum of power's duality in multiplicity principle, these two opposing behaviors oscillate, giving rise to new forms. Congregate organizes the rhythm of reality, turning the back and forth motion into a thread of pattern. However, when repetition reaches stagnation, spread disrupts the pattern, using entropy to erode structure and allow creation to flow again. Congregation is the cosmic imperative for connection, unity, structure, and conservation. It drives systems inward toward singularity, order, and aggregate mass. It is the memory of the pattern, the necessary counterforce that resists dissolution and insists on the formation of centralized, recognizable structures. This manifests in the formation of stars and planets, cellular organization, the establishment of social contracts, and the formation of habits. It is the spirit of organization that creates the collaborative forces that build our civilizations. Spread is the cosmic imperative for individuation, dissolution, freedom, and expansion. It drives systems outward toward maximum dispersal, disorder, and complexity. It is the force that breaks structure and seeks to maximize the number of possible states, guaranteeing that no pattern remains fixed forever. This manifests in cosmic expansion, the decay of matter, the aging process, and the division of unified systems such as social orders. Congregate creates stabilized potential, and spread is the kinetic force that pushes it outward. But these two are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin, two poles reinforcing each other in an oscillating spiral. Two behaviors born from one creative instinct of existence. Back to the rules. At first glance, these two behaviors resemble the two rules of our philosophy: opposition and unification. Unification tracks well with congregate. The rule of unification holds that everything in reality tends to bond regardless of the state or relation, including opposition. Congregate binds all forces and entities together to create form. It is the unifying principle of reality. Opposition is trickier. On the surface, it connects to spread, and spread is the opposing behavior of congregate. It separates uniformity and dissolves structure for movement. But opposition also overlaps with congregate. Recall the principle of specificity, where reality creates a distinct point of differentiation. In quantum field theory, a particle is simply an excitation of a field, a commanding point of distinction. Specificity is a manifestation of congregate, a localized point of existence where chaotic probabilistic fields cluster into a specific form. This connects back to the rule of opposition, where reality constantly generates patterns through separation and distinction. Specificity gives the unified field a differentiating factor, which is the basis of all opposition. Yet, that differentiation emerges through congregation, through the clustering of a localized area. Through distinction, smaller parts emerge as the basis for unification, where differing parts create a greater whole. So, what does this mean? Separation is an illusion reality plays on itself. Oscillation, differentiation, and opposition are simply expressions of one ongoing process of creation, not a breaking of the whole, but a tree spreading into branches. Congregate and spread are two poles of that process, one clustering reality into form, the other dissolving it back into motion. And the spiral between them is creation itself. The two rules of reality, opposition and unification, are the structure through which this process moves, and the pendulum of power ensures it never stagnates, keeping the spiral dynamic, generative, and open to novelty. The universe separates to experience itself, the infinite witnessing itself through the finite, where the very constraints of form become the conditions for creativity. Thank you, conscious colleagues, for lending me your ear. In today's episode, we went deeper into the mechanism of the pendulum and the rules of power, uncovering a hidden layer of pattern creation. We uncovered the dynamic interplay of congregate and spread, an ongoing behavior visible across all layers of reality. In the next episode, We're going to delve deeper into the layers that hold up the structures of existence, how the two behaviors manifest in each layer, and how complexity becomes a fractal layering of reality. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.